let's talk about conflict management styles. When we talk about conflict management styles, we usually start with 5 basic styles of conflict. These 5 basic styles are competing, avoiding, accommodating, collaborating, and compromising. So we're going to look at these 5 in depth and try to help us figure out what type we are. So let's start with the first one, competing. Competing says, I win, you lose. In competing, I have more concern for my own needs, wants, and desires, and little, if any, concern for the other person's needs, wants, and desires. The goals are to win. Another way of looking at it is, it's my way. In competing, we're looking out for our way of doing things. So I'm going to win. The other person in the conflict is going to lose. Positives with competing. I get to win. It feels good to win. It's comfortable winning because you get to do things the way you want to do them. The negative side effects of competing. It's really hard to lose all the time. And so if one person in the relationship or in the business workplace is always winning, it means that the other people are always losing. And after a while, people aren't going to want to work with you. They're not going to want to hang out with you because your actions, your way of dealing in conflict shows that you don't care for their needs, their wants, or desires. And so they're going to tune out and they're going to go away. So the competing styles, my way, I win, you lose. Let's go to the second style. The second style is avoiding. With avoiding, I lose, you lose. With the avoiding style, it's really no way. It's not my way, it's not your way, there's no way. Because with avoiding, we don't engage in the conflict at all. We pretend that if we don't look at it, it's gonna go away. But it doesn't. And so the avoiding style really says that I have little concern for my own needs, wants, and desires, and little concern for the other person's needs, wants, and desires. And by not engaging in the conflict, neither of us get to win, and neither of us and all of us lose. With the avoiding style, the negative consequences of it is that the conflict isn't dealt with. And even if we push it aside, if we pretend it's not there, or we'll start over, it's still there and it's not really starting over. And so the conflict's still going to be present, looming or growing, waiting for the next time to come out. Now, sometimes it's okay to avoid for short periods of time. If you're in a big meeting and you don't like what somebody says and you have a conflict with it, don't stand up in the meeting and start voicing your conflict. Wait, go to the person one-on-one. Avoiding for a short amount of time to be able to change the context for better communication, that's okay. Avoiding overall, though, means everyone loses. So we've done competing, we've done avoiding. Let's talk about accommodating. With accommodating, I lose, you win. So for accommodation, it's your way. The other person gets to get their way. With accommodation, I have little concern for my own needs and wants and desires and have greater concern for the other person's needs, wants, and desires. With accommodation, the other person gets their way. So they feel good, it's nice, it's great. Many times for accommodators, though, after a while, they start to get fussy and grumpy and a little bit irritated. And in their minds, they're thinking, why doesn't anybody care about me? Why don't people care about what I have to say? And resentment starts to bubble up. This sounds like tough love for those of us who are accommodators, so please be gentle as you listen to this. It's really hard for the other people in a relationship to know your needs, wants, and desires if you never voice them. And so one way that we can work with accommodators is to really actually voice your needs, wants, and desires in a conflict. Because your fans and your family and the people you work with aren't mind readers. They're not going to come up with it on their own. So we have competing, we have avoiding, we have accommodating. The next one is collaborating. It's also known as collaboration. With collaborating, I win, the other person wins. We all get to win. Sometimes we think of it as our way. With collaboration, my needs, wants, and desires are met. Your needs, wants, and desires are met. This sounds really good. That's one of the positives of collaboration. Everybody gets to win. The problem is it's really, really hard to get to the point where everyone wins. When we're collaborating, we have to spend a lot of time talking about your needs, wants, and desires, my needs, wants, and desires. Where is there some common ground? Now let's build on that common ground. And as you can see already, this is getting kind of timely. And so most of the time with collaboration, people aren't willing to invest the amount of time, communication, and commitment to follow it through to the end. The last conflict style that we're going to talk about right now is compromising. Compromise is some way. I get to win and lose, you get to win and lose with compromising. We each get part of our needs, wants, and desires met, but we also don't get part of our needs, wants, and desires met. You may have heard it as meeting in the middle, meeting each other halfway. With compromising, we make a decision that allows everybody to get a little bit, but not get some. The great thing about compromise is everybody gets some things. It allows you to make a decision more quickly than collaboration does. There are some negatives for compromising though. Sometimes you may not be able to compromise. The issues that the conflict are about may be so close to your values and your beliefs that there's no room for compromise. When we look at these 5 conflict styles, we have to think about what our default is. Our default is the land or the conflict style that we usually default to or go to when we engage in conflict. If we know our default style and also know the style that we don't use very often, it helps us engage in conflict better because we know ourselves more. And we can think about the conflict and think about how important is this to me? How important is this conflict to me? And then we can engage better in the conflict. You're going to do an assignment that looks at your conflict styles assessment. It's usually easier when you take this conflict styles assessment to think of a person or a group of people while you're taking it, because we know that context changes how we communicate, and also the listener or the other source that we're communicating with is going to change how we communicate. And so it's very, very possible that when you're talking with your friends, you may have one default conflict style. When you're working in the workplace, you might have a different conflict style. So before you take the assessment, really, really think about who your listener is going to be, who you're going to be answering the questions about, so that you can get a better understanding of your conflict style.